If you're here, you're not looking for fluff, you're looking for truth. So let's go straight to it. The reason the Buddha stands apart from every spiritual giant in history is simple. He refused to bend truth to fit our expectations. He did not sell hope. He did not promise a future paradise. He did not hand out slogans, mascots, or memberships. He showed you a way to live that frees you now, a way beyond ideology, beyond the ego's noise, beyond the exhausting chase for a better version of yourself that never arrives. If that strikes a chord already, do me a quick favor. Like this video so YouTube shows it to more people who crave clear truth. Share it with one friend who needs a reset, and subscribe so you won't miss the next deep dive. Here's the core. The Buddha is freedom, not the political kind, not the consumer kind, not do whatever you want chaos. I'm talking about the freedom that begins when you stop dragging the past and stop bargaining with the future. The freedom of dropping a lifelong suitcase of opinions, shoulds, and identities, and discovering that underneath all that luggage there was always a wide, quiet space, awareness itself. Most teachers give you something to hold. The Buddha takes things away, layer after layer, until what's left is a simple, unshakable fact of being awake. That sounds extreme until you consider what we've tried. We've tried self-help hacks, morning routines, personality labels, 5-step plans, perfectionist ideals, and the endless treadmill of becoming. We're constantly measuring how spiritual or how successful we are, privately negotiating with ourselves. If I fix my diet, if I perfect my meditation posture, if I manifest harder, then I'll finally be okay. The Buddha looked us in the eye and said, in effect, you can't carry truth down to your level. You rise to it, or you let it rise in you by dropping what drags you down. No compromises, no sugarcoating. That's why his teaching still cuts clean through the noise 2.5 millennia later. Let's translate his message into real life. Think of your mind as a crowded room. Over years, you filled it with furniture, beliefs, fears, roles, labels, arguments you had with your dad, promises you made to yourself in college, quotes you posted on Instagram, the voice of your 8th grade teacher, the voice of your first boss, the voice that says be nicer, the voice that says try harder. You can't even turn around without bumping into something. The Buddha doesn't ask you to buy a bigger house. He asks you to open a window, start moving furniture out, and notice what appears when the room is clear. Space, light, breath. He calls that clarity nirvana, not as a far-off reward, but as a natural spaciousness that's revealed when you stop hoarding mental clutter. And here's the part that makes this so American practical. He didn't ask you to become a mystic, to grow a new identity, or to convert to a club. He told you to watch, like a good scientist, like a good coach, like a good farmer who understands seasons and soil. Watch the body moving. Watch thoughts arriving and leaving. Watch emotions swell, crest, and pass, without jumping into them, without fighting them, without selling your soul to them. That simple skill, clean, neutral watching, is what he called vipassana, insight, not a ritual, not a performance. A way of living that is as continuous and ordinary as breathing. If that feels too simple to be powerful, consider the things that actually change your life. Showing up on time, keeping your word, getting a full night's sleep, drinking water, saying what you mean, listening without preparing a rebuttal. None of those are exotic. All of them require awareness. When you are aware, you exist more fully. Your choices have weight, your attention has depth, your relationships have honesty, your work has spine. When you're unaware, you absent-mindedly outsource your life to habits and headlines. The Buddha's entire curriculum is one sentence. Be aware because awareness is what you are when you're not pretending to be something else. Now, let's address a common pushback. If I drop ideals, won't I become lazy? Don't we need goals? Here's the nuance. The Buddha wasn't against excellence. He was against the inner war that comes from trying to be somebody else. Ideals can inspire, but when they become an identity project, they split you in two, the person you are and the person you're bullying yourself to become. That split siphons your energy, keeps you tense, and makes you manipulable. When you live from clean awareness, action sharpens. You still build businesses, run marathons, raise kids, fight for justice, but you're not negotiating your worth in every step. You move without the hidden tax of self-rejection, and he refused to play the later game. He didn't dangle heaven if you behave, or awakening if you perform. He moved the target from the horizon to your next breath. Be present here. See this thought as a cloud. No good, no bad, just weather. Feel this wave of irritation without becoming the angry person. Notice this impulse to reach for your phone, and for once, don't. Do you realize how radical that is? No spiritual credit score. No scoreboard at all. Just reality. Witness without distortion. Let me tell you a quick story you'll recognize even if you've never read a sutra. You had a day where your mind was muddy. Someone cut you off. A meeting went sideways. A text landed wrong. The more you tried to calm down, the more stirred up you got. You argued with yourself in the shower. You wrote imaginary emails in your head. You managed it, and it got worse. The Buddha would say, sit on the riverbank of your mind. Stop stepping in. Mud settles on its own. Clear water is what happens when you stop churning. That's not passivity. That's intelligence. Save your energy for a response that's clean instead of a reaction that's messy. There's another piece Americans especially appreciate. The middle way. We're a country of edges. Grind culture versus burnout. Indulgence versus restriction. Hustle versus I'm done. The Buddha says, stand in the middle and observe. Not because the middle is bland, but because only a steady camera can take a clear picture. When you perch in that middle, no clinging, no pushing away, you finally see people as they are, situations as they are, and yourself as you are. From that clarity, kindness isn't forced, it's obvious. Boundaries aren't rigid, they're sane. Decisions aren't dramatic, they're straightforward. And then there's compassion, not as a performance, but as the natural sense of awareness. When you're not busy defending an identity, you have room for other humans. The Buddha didn't keep enlightenment as a private garden. He turned it outward. Share your stillness, not by preaching, but by being the person in the room whose nervous system isn't hijacked, whose honesty isn't cruel, whose presence isn't needy. You don't have to call it compassion. Call it being unshakably decent. People feel it. They relax around you. They tell the truth around you. That's how awakening scales, one nervous system at a time. Here's the line that ties this whole part one together. Be a light unto yourself. Don't imitate. Don't become a copy of me, of your favorite guru, of your favorite influencer. Take what's useful. Test in your real Tuesday afternoon. Keep what works. Drop what doesn't. The Buddha's confidence in you is staggering. He's saying you already carry the instrument you need, the capacity to notice. Tune it, use it, trust it. If you follow blindly, you outsource your responsibility and never grow real wisdom. If you watch bravely, you earn a life that fits in your own skin. So here's the immediate practice, and it's not glamorous. For the next 24 hours, pick 3 ordinary moments and watch. When you stand up from a chair, when you unlock your phone, when you feel the first spark of irritation. In each, pause for 2 breaths. Label what you notice: standing, unlocking, irritation rising, and do nothing extra. That's it. No mantras, no posture police, no gold stars. Just awareness meeting life where it happens. Do this consistently, and you'll feel a small but undeniable shift. More room inside your chest, more oxygen in your choices, more truth in your voice. If this no-nonsense approach speaks to you, hit like, not for vanity, but because it helps other people who need this message find it. Tap share and pass it to the one friend who overthinks everything. And subscribe right now, because in the next part, we're going deeper. How to dismantle the ego without declaring war on yourself. How to practice Vipassana while working a 9 to 5. And how the middle way solves the all-or-nothing trap that keeps wrecking your progress. Stay with me. No robes required. No belief required. Just the courage to watch and the freedom that follows. Let's go deeper. You've heard people say, find yourself. The Buddha would smile and reply, find what? Because the self we keep polishing is the very fog covering the mirror. He wasn't trying to insult humanity. He was trying to wake it up. The moment you stop defending the mask, something luminous looks back. That's the real you, the awareness that never needed fixing in the first place. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Everything you think you are, your resume, your heartbreak, your beliefs, even your favorite quote on your fridge, is furniture in that mental room we talked about earlier, and you've been tripping over it your entire life. The Buddha's genius wasn't giving us more belief. It was teaching us how to remove what blocks direct seeing. He called that process Vipassana, literally to see clearly. It's not exotic. It's what happens when you stop adding commentary to each moment. Try it now. Feel your hands resting on the table. Don't analyze, don't label good posture or bad posture. Just watch. A second ago, your mind was a boss. Now awareness is in charge. That tiny shift is the first taste of freedom. Imagine living a whole life from that center, calm, alert, unbothered. That's enlightenment, not thunderbolts or halos, just pure presence. But most of us complicate it. We want enlightenment and applause. We want inner peace, but only if it fits our calendar. The Buddha laughs kindly at that. He says, you can't bargain with awakening. It comes when there's nothing left to bargain with. Awareness is not a means to an end. It is the end, the middle, and the beginning. Let me give you a picture from modern life. Think of a smartphone overloaded with apps. Each app demands updates, storage, attention. The battery drains. Then one day you hit clear cache. Suddenly the phone runs smooth again. Vipassana is clear cache for consciousness. You're not deleting life. You're deleting noise. And in that silence, a strange thing happens. Compassion shows up on its own. You start noticing people instead of judging them. You sense pain behind anger, fear behind arrogance. You forgive faster, not because you become holy, but because you stop taking everything personally. Here's the kicker. When you truly witness your mind, 90% of what used to upset you evaporates. Traffic jam? Just cars. Rude comment? Just sound waves. Aging face? Just time doing its job. What remains is space, and space never suffers. That's the emptiness the Buddha talked about. Western ears hear empty and think lonely. He meant the opposite. Spacious. Open, free. Now, I know someone watching is thinking, if I let go of everything, won't I lose my motivation? No. You lose your anxiety, not your drive. When you act from clarity instead of craving, work becomes flow. You still build, create, love, but without the tension of needing outcomes to validate your worth. The Buddha wasn't anti-ambition. He was anti-attachment. There's a big difference. Let me tell you a small story. A young professional once told me, "I meditate, but nothing changes." I asked, "What are you looking for?" He said, "Peace." I said, "Then you're already lost. You're still chasing." 2 weeks later, he wrote back, "I stopped chasing peace. I just sit." And guess what? Peace came looking for him. That's the paradox of the heart of awakening. When you stop trying to get it, you start to be it. The Buddha taught no ideology because every ideology is just another net. Freedom means cutting every net, even the golden one of spiritual success. He said, "Raise yourself to truth. Don't pull truth down to you." It's fierce love, compassion with a backbone. He didn't water down reality so you'd feel comfortable. He spoke the full dose so you become capable. So today, I'm challenging you. For the next hour, be a mirror. Don't react. Just reflect. If someone praises you, reflect it without swallowing it. If someone criticizes you, reflect it without bleeding. See what happens. You'll feel an unexpected power, the power of being untouchable without being cold. That's awareness in action. And if you're still with me, respect. That means you're hungry for truth, not entertainment. So hit like to tell the algorithm this content matters. Share with that friend who's been trying to meditate but keeps overthinking it. And subscribe, because in the next part we'll explore how the Buddha's middle way solves our modern extremes, burnout, guilt, overachievement, and why balance is not weakness but precision. Stay tuned, stay aware, and remember, you don't need to find the light. You just need to stop covering it. Let's keep walking. By now you probably felt how awareness clears mental clutter. But the Buddha didn't stop there. After freedom from noise comes balance, the middle way. And no, it's not a boring compromise. It's the razor edge where clarity lives. Here's the thing about our modern world. We love extremes. We work until burnout, then binge on self-care. We chase productivity, then crash into guilt. We diet like soldiers, then raid the fridge at midnight. Sound familiar? The Buddha saw this pattern 2,500 years ago and said, "Neither indulgence nor torture will free you." Balance isn't soft, it's skill. It's walking through life like a tightrope artist. Steady, aware, alive to every step. The story of the Buddha and his disciple Ananda captures it perfectly. One summer day, the Buddha asked Ananda to fetch water from a stream. But 2 carts had just crossed, leaving mud swirling everywhere. Ananda came back frustrated. "Master, the water's dirty." The Buddha smiled. "Go again." Ananda obeyed. When he returned, the mud had settled and the water was clear. The Buddha asked gently, "Do you see?" And Ananda understood. When you stop stirring your own mind, clarity comes by itself. That's the middle way in daily life. Stop stirring. You don't have to fix every thought or control every outcome. Just pause. Let your mind's mud settle. You'll be amazed how many problems solve themselves when you stop kicking up dust. But I'll be real, balance doesn't come naturally to us. We're taught to push for everything. Hustle culture worships overdrive, and even spirituality gets turned into competition. Who meditates more hours? Who eats cleaner? The Buddha would grin and say, "You missed the point." Because the moment spirituality becomes ego fuel, it's poison disguised as purity. Let me tell you a modern story that mirrors the Buddha's insight. A CEO I know built his company from scratch. 10 years in, he couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe without checking his phone. So he went on a retreat. Day 1, he kept trying to do meditation right. Day 3, he broke down crying. Day 5, he said, I stopped trying. Day 6, he felt peace for the first time in decades. When he came home, he didn't quit his job. He changed how he worked. Meetings became shorter, emails clearer, weekends sacred. That's not quitting ambition. That's refining it. That's modern middle way. Here's the secret. Balance is not static. It's dynamic awareness, adjusting moment to moment. Think of riding a bike. You never freeze in perfect stillness. You make tiny corrections, left, right, forward, back. Awareness is the handlebar. Lose focus, you wobble. Grip too tight, you crash. The art is to move with reality, not against it. So next time you're angry, don't suppress it. That's one extreme. Don't explode either. That's the other. Stand in the middle and watch. Anger, when seen clearly, burns itself out like paper and fire. Next time you're sad, don't drown in it or deny it. Let it pass through like weather. Every emotion is just climate change in your mind. None lasts forever. This is why the Buddha compared consciousness to a hilltop watcher. From up there, you see sunrise and sunset, rain and thunder, but you remain the witness. When happiness comes, you nod. When sorrow comes, you nod. The sky doesn't panic when clouds appear. It knows they'll drift away. You are that sky. You just forgot. Western psychology calls this equanimity, but I think grace under pressure says it better. It's the strength to stay centered while the world spins. The Buddha's genius was teaching ordinary people, not monks only, to live like that every day. Imagine reacting to family drama, news, or workplace chaos from calm observation instead of panic. That's enlightenment in jeans and sneakers. And there's science behind it. Studies on mindfulness show that balanced awareness lowers cortisol, stabilizes heart rate, improves decision-making, even strengthens empathy. The Buddha didn't need data. He saw the pattern. A calm mind sees clearly, and clear seeing prevents suffering before it starts. But balance isn't just inner peace. It's action, too. When you live from the middle, your choices cut cleaner. You speak truth without cruelty. You rest without laziness. You work hard without self-abuse. You give without resentment. Receive without greed. That's real power. The world doesn't need more warriors of extremes. It needs craftsmen of balance. So how do you practice it today? Start small. When something annoys you, pause before you react. When something delights you, pause before you cling. That tiny pause is a space of enlightenment, the still point between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl called it the space where freedom lives. The Buddha discovered it centuries earlier. And here's what's wild. Once you taste that freedom, you'll never want to go back. Because balance feels like breathing fresh air after years in a crowded room. It's not boring, it's beautiful. So, if this part resonated like the video, it tells the algorithm people still care about peace. Share it with someone who swings between burnout and boredom. They'll thank you later. And subscribe, because next we'll explore compassion. How the Buddha transformed enlightenment from a private escape into a revolution of kindness, and why giving may actually multiply your own joy. Stay centered, stay curious, and remember, balance is not the middle between two fears. It's the freedom beyond them. We've cleared the mind, found balance, learned to sit in stillness. But the Buddha didn't stop at personal peace. He went further into compassion, the heart that turns awakening into action. Without compassion, enlightenment is just a beautiful isolation. With it, it becomes a revolution. Think about this. Before the Buddha, most seekers saw enlightenment as an escape. I'll leave the noisy world behind, meditate in a cave, and stay pure. The Buddha flipped that idea upside down. He walked back into the noise, barefoot, smiling, teaching beggars and kings alike. Because real awakening doesn't mean you leave the world. It means you see the world as yourself. When the illusion of separation dissolves, love becomes as natural as breathing. And here's the genius. The Buddha didn't preach sentimental kindness. He taught conscious compassion, kindness rooted in awareness. He said, love but don't cling, help but don't possess, give but expect nothing. That's radical, because most of what we call love today is still a trade. I'll give you attention if you give me validation. Compassion asks for no receipt. It gives because giving feels like alignment with truth. Let me tell you a story. One evening, a disciple told the Buddha, I want to share my joy with everyone, except my neighbor, he's unbearable. The Buddha laughed. Forget the whole world. Just share it with him. The man protested. He insults me, he mocks the path. The Buddha said gently, exactly, the bridge to peace is built where you least want to walk. That's compassion, not agreeing with someone, but refusing to let hatred run your nervous system. In our modern life, compassion isn't a robe or a prayer. It's how you treat the grocery clerk when the line is long, how you speak to your spouse when you're tired, how you hold space for a friend's silence instead of filling it with advice. It's choosing to understand before reacting, to see pain behind bad behavior. That single choice can change the entire chemistry of a room. And it's not weakness. The Buddha's compassion was power with spine. He didn't tolerate harm. He saw through it. When awareness deepens, empathy sharpens, you don't get manipulated, but you also don't need to attack. Imagine the quiet strength of someone who can look at chaos and simply respond with clarity instead of rage. That's real mastery. Science backs it up. Modern neuroscience shows that compassion-based meditation literally rewires the brain, increasing gray matter in regions linked to emotional regulation and empathy. But you don't need a lab to feel it. When you do something kind without expecting credit, holding a door, forgiving an insult, listening fully, notice how your chest softens. That's evolution happening in real time. Compassion isn't moral. It's biological awakening. Now here's the twist most people miss. The Buddha said compassion should come before enlightenment, not after. Because if you reach silence without a heart, that silence can turn cold. A monk without compassion becomes a statue. That's why the Buddha told his disciples to practice loving kindness first, to train the emotional muscles of empathy, so that when awakening blooms, it blooms warm. Let me paint this with a modern example. A woman named Helen, 68 years old, told me she'd been meditating for 6 months and felt empty but not happy. When I asked what she did afterwards, she said, I sit, then get up and ignore everyone. I smiled and said, next time, make tea for your neighbor. She laughed, tried it, and the next week she said, that tea changed everything. She didn't add anything spiritual. She just acted from softness. That's how enlightenment stops being theory and starts being humanity, and compassion multiplies. The Buddha compared it to a candle lighting another. It doesn't lose its flame, it spreads it. The more you give, the more light fills the room. That's not poetic exaggeration. It's energy physics. Anger contracts. Fear freezes. Compassion expands. And when expansion meets awareness, joy appears for no reason. You can test this now. Think of someone who irritates you. Picture them, not as an enemy, but as a confused child inside an adult body. Notice how your body softens instantly. That's compassion activating. You didn't plan it. You just remembered the truth. Everyone's doing their best from their level of consciousness. That doesn't mean tolerate abuse. It means stop carrying poison. The Buddha turned this into a social movement. His monks weren't just meditating. They were feeding the hungry, caring for the sick, educating strangers. Compassion became a civilization strategy. Imagine if our politics, our workplaces, even our families operated from that mindset. May my clarity make others safe. The world would change overnight. And it starts small with you. Each act of understanding is a seed. Each pause before reacting is water. Each moment of forgiveness is sunlight. Together, they grow a new kind of strength, one that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, but transforms everything it touches. So here's your challenge of the week. Pick one difficult person or situation and practice silent compassion. Not pity, not superiority. Just a quiet wish, may they be free from confusion. You'll notice something amazing. It frees you first. If this resonates, help spread it. Like this video, so more people discover it. Share it with someone who needs a little light today. And subscribe so you don't miss the next part. We'll explore the final teaching of the Buddha, how to be your own light, how to live awakened in a world that's still asleep, and why true freedom begins the moment you stop imitating and start being. Stay kind, stay awake, and remember, compassion isn't a virtue. It's your original nature rediscovered. This is where everything comes together. Awareness, balance, compassion. They're not three separate lessons. They're steps that lead to the final truth the Buddha gave before he died. His disciples were weeping, clinging to him, asking, "Master, who will guide us when you're gone?" And he said 7 words that changed human history. Be a light unto yourself. He wasn't being poetic. He was giving the ultimate responsibility back to you. Because the Buddha never wanted followers. He wanted discoverers. He didn't build a religion. He built a mirror. Every teaching, every meditation, every parable was a way to hand you back your own eyes. Let's break that down. Be a light unto yourself doesn't mean ignore wisdom or reject teachers. It means stop outsourcing your soul. Stop treating gurus, books, or systems as permanent crutches. Use them, learn from them, then walk on your own feet. Truth borrowed is belief. Truth lived is transformation. And the Buddha's whole project was to turn believers into beings. In modern language, it means this. Stop waiting for the perfect diet, the perfect job, the perfect meditation app, or the perfect partner to make you whole. Stop expecting anyone, spiritual or otherwise, to hand you meaning. The light you seek is not at the end of a pilgrimage. It's the one glowing quietly behind your ribs right now. You just buried it under opinions, noise, and fear being wrong. Let's get real. Most of us live as though we're still waiting for permission to start our real life. We scroll, compare, procrastinate, promise to begin once things calm down. The Buddha's final lesson says, there is no later. The next breath is your life. Live it awake. Light doesn't ask the dark if it's ready. It just shines. And here's the paradox. Being your own light doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means shining so steadily that others remember their own flame. That's leadership in the truest sense. You don't convert anyone. You ignite them. A parent who listens without panic. A nurse who smiles without preaching. A friend who forgives first. These are modern Buddhas walking among us. But make no mistake, this path demands courage. Because the moment you become your own light, excuses die. You can't hide behind "they told me," "they made me," or "that's how I was raised." You start seeing every reaction, every habit, every complaint as a choice. And that level of freedom feels raw at first. But it's also the beginning of power, not control over others' power, but sovereignty of self-power. Think about it like this. Society teaches you to plug your identity into systems, career, politics, tribes, algorithms, as if they can define you. The Buddha says unplug, walk outside the noise, see directly. When you stop being reactive, propaganda loses grip. When you stop clinging, marketing loses grip. When you stop fearing silence, distraction loses grip. That's enlightenment disguised as maturity. And there's another layer most people overlook. The Buddha wasn't anti-life. He was pro-awareness in life. He didn't tell you to escape the world. He told you to wake up in it. He ate, laughed, walked, counseled, rested. He lived among people, not above them. That's what be your own light really means, not to glow alone, but to shine naturally wherever you stand. Here's a practical way to start. Every morning, before your phone or coffee, sit for 1 minute and ask, what's true right now? Don't analyze. Don't fix. Just feel what's real. Body, breath, mind. You'll notice something subtle. Peace was never gone, only covered. Awareness doesn't need hours. It just needs honesty. Then take that honesty into your day. When you speak, mean it. When you eat, taste it. When you rest, really rest. That's mindfulness without the marketing. That's the middle way as a daily rhythm, not a weekend workshop. And when you fail, because you will, don't panic. Even the Buddha had to start over every morning. The difference is, he didn't turn mistakes into identities. He fell, saw, adjusted, continued. So can you. Here's what I love most about this teaching. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. You can be furious and still aware. You can be sad and still compassionate. You can be uncertain and still grounded. The light doesn't wait for the weather to clear. It shines through it. Let's bring this home. The Buddha story isn't ancient. It's happening right now. Every time someone chooses awareness over autopilot, balance over burnout, compassion over cynicism, every time someone stops blaming and starts seeing, you don't need a monastery for that. You just need this moment. So let's make a pact. For the next 24 hours, live like the light's already on. Speak from clarity. Act from care. Rest without guilt. And when the old habits whisper not enough, smile and remind them, you are the witness, not the whisper. If this message lit even a spark in you, like the video to keep it alive, share it. Someone you know is walking through the dark right now and needs to hear this. And subscribe if you want to keep walking this path together. Because next time, we're diving into the most practical side of awakening, how to live consciously in relationships, work, and aging, not as an escape, but as an evolution. Until then, breathe, be kind, and remember, you are not waiting for the light. You are it. So, you've understood the Buddha's core, awareness, balance, compassion, and becoming your own light. But here's the hardest test. Can you live awake inside the real world? Not on a mountaintop, not during a silent retreat, but in traffic, in meetings, in your own kitchen when someone leaves dirty dishes again. Because that's where enlightenment either lives or dies. In the small, ordinary frictions that make up most of your day. The Buddha wasn't interested in how peaceful you are sitting under a tree. He cared about how peaceful you are when your patience is tested, your plans fall apart, or your ego gets bruised. He said, in the seen, only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. Translation, stop adding drama. Reality is already simple. It's the mind that complicates it. Let's be honest, modern life is a storm. We're overstimulated, underrested, and constantly bombarded by information. Our phones are temples of distraction. But here's the twist. That chaos is the perfect dojo for awareness. You don't need to escape it. You can train within it. That's what makes the Buddha's teaching timeless. It wasn't about withdrawing from life. It was about meeting life awake. So, how do you live awake in 2025, surrounded by noise and deadlines? You start with micro moments of mindfulness, not hours of meditation, but seconds of clarity. When you're waiting for an elevator, don't check your phone. Feel your breath. When someone complains, listen fully before fixing. When you sip your coffee, actually taste it. These small acts are not trivial. They're neural rewiring. They teach your mind to return home. Here, now, again and again. One of the Buddha's great insights was impermanence, the understanding that everything changes. Relationships, moods, weather, even pain, nothing stays. This truth sounds obvious, but if you actually live by it, 90% of your anxiety would vanish. Think about it. Every stressful thought starts with a hidden assumption that something should stay the same. My health, my job, my body, my comfort. But the Buddha smiled and said, the only constant is change. Once you see that deeply, you stop clinging. You start dancing. Here's a modern example. A man named Robert wrote to me saying, I've been trying to meditate, but life keeps interrupting. Phone calls, noise, my dog barking. I told him, then that's your meditation. Awareness doesn't demand silence. It demands presence. The dog barking is your bell. The phone ringing is your reminder. The Buddha's temple isn't somewhere in India. It's wherever you are when you wake up to the moment. And that's where compassion comes back in. Living awake doesn't mean becoming detached or robotic. It means being deeply present and deeply human. You feel everything, but you're not enslaved by it. You can be angry and still kind. You can disagree and still love. You can fail and still smile. The Buddha didn't promise a painless life. He offered a conscious one, where even pain becomes teacher, not enemy. Let's talk about relationships, our greatest mirrors. The Buddha once said, an enlightened being can know themselves through others. Every person you meet is a reflection of what still stirs inside you. The impatient boss, he reveals your hidden aggression. The friend who never listens, she mirrors your own need to be heard. The partner who triggers your insecurity, that's your ego begging to be seen. Living awake means using relationships as training, not escape routes, not comfort zones, but mirrors for growth. Work, too, becomes spiritual practice. Imagine answering emails with full attention instead of resentment. Imagine seeing your coworkers not as obstacles, but as fellow travelers, each fighting unseen battles. Even ambition can become sacred when it's free of greed. The Buddha didn't ask you to abandon your career. He asked you to do it without losing your soul in the process. And aging, yes, that too. In the West, we dread it. But the Buddha saw aging as proof that life is working. Wrinkles, gray hair, slower pace. These aren't enemies. They're evidence of wisdom earned. The body softens so the soul can expand. Living awake means greeting time with gratitude, not fear. Every line on your face is a story carved by awareness. Now, let's get practical. Here are 3 habits to live awake daily. Pause before reacting. Every time something triggers you, take 1 conscious breath. That breath is your throne. Sit on it before responding. Do one thing at a time. Single tasking isn't inefficiency, it's mastery. When you walk, walk. When you eat, eat. When you talk, listen. Presence makes ordinary moments luminous. End each day with reflection. Before bed, ask, Where was I awake today? Where did I sleep through life? Don't judge, just notice. Awareness grows through honest seeing, not perfection. And don't worry, you'll forget. You'll get lost in traffic, Netflix, arguments, and social media spirals. But every time you remember to notice, that's awakening again. The Buddha said, fall 7 times, stand up 8. Awareness isn't a destination. It's a rhythm. You lose it, find it, lose it again, until one day, losing it feels impossible. The point of all this isn't to become special or spiritual. It's to become real. Awake people don't float above life. They're more alive in it. They laugh easily, cry fully, and recover quickly. They're not perfect. They're present. So here's your challenge. For the next 24 hours, don't try to be enlightened. Just try to notice. Notice your mind judging. Notice your body tensing. Notice when you rush, when you resist, when you reach for escape. That noticing is the light. The moment you see it, you're already free. If this message hits home, hit like so it reaches more souls searching for sanity in chaos. Share it with someone who feels lost. Maybe they just need a reminder that peace was never missing. And subscribe, because next time we're going to explore the science of awareness, how ancient teachings and modern neuroscience meet to prove that enlightenment isn't myth, it's biology. Until then, live gently, breathe deeply, and remember, the real world isn't a distraction from your path. It is your path. So here we are, full circle. From the first question, who was the Buddha really? To now, where the answer isn't an idea, but a quiet knowing inside you. If you watch this far, you already understand something most people spend a lifetime chasing. Awakening isn't elsewhere. It's already breathing through you. Think about everything we've covered. Awareness, seeing clearly without judgment. Balance, walking the razor's edge between chaos and control. Compassion, loving without needing anything back. Being your own light, the courage to stop following and start living from your center. And finally, living awake, meeting the real world with open eyes and a steady heart. This isn't ancient philosophy anymore. It's survival wisdom for modern souls. Because today, our suffering doesn't come from deserts or droughts. It comes from disconnection. We scroll through millions of opinions, but rarely touch silence. We chase achievements, but forget aliveness. The Buddha's path, over 2,500 years old, might just be the medicine our century needs most. And yet, here's the beauty. The Buddha never asked for worship. He asked for curiosity. He didn't say, believe me. He said, see for yourself. That's why his light hasn't dimmed. Truth doesn't age. Awareness doesn't go out of style. And kindness, real, grounded kindness, will always feel like home. If you take only one thing from this entire series, let it be this. You are the experiment and the evidence. Every time you pause instead of react, you're walking the path. Every time you breathe through anger instead of exploding, you're meditating in motion. Every time you forgive when it's easier to resent, you're teaching the world enlightenment in a language it understands. Action. That's how humanity evolves. Not through mass awakenings, but through small ones that ripple outward. One person who chooses clarity over confusion, love over fear, awareness over autopilot. You can be that person. You already are if you've made it this far. Now, let's get personal. You don't need to shave your head, wear robes, or chant in Sanskrit. You can live the Dharma in blue jeans and sneakers. You can practice enlightenment at work, in traffic, in your kitchen, with your kids. The Buddha didn't belong to a monastery. He belonged to consciousness itself. And so do you. But here's the challenge. Awakening doesn't maintain itself. Just like muscles need movement, awareness needs practice. That's why this channel exists. To remind you week after week that you're not alone in the practice, that there are millions of us quietly choosing to live awake, not perfect, not preachy, but human. So before you leave, I'm asking something simple yet powerful. Subscribe to this channel, not just to support it, but to support yourself. Because every time you return, every time you hit play on a new video, is another chance to remember who you are beneath the noise. We're building a community of awake people, seniors, students, dreamers, doubters, anyone ready to trade anxiety for awareness, fear for presence, effort for flow. If this message stirred something in you, hit like so the algorithm sends it to others who are quietly searching, just like you once were. Share with a friend who feels lost. Maybe your light becomes their first spark. And leave a comment below. Tell me what part of the Buddha's teaching hit you hardest. Was it balance? Compassion? The courage to stand alone? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read tonight. Remember, this isn't just philosophy. It's daily practice. The Buddha's path was never about escaping life. It was about entering it more deeply, more honestly, more lovingly. That's how we turn awareness into a movement, not through words, but through presence. So as you close this video, don't just leave inspired. Leave different. Sit for 1 minute before you scroll away. Feel your breath. Feel the silence between heartbeats. That silence right now is the same silence the Buddha found under the Bodhi tree. It's here in you waiting. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you open your eyes, at breakfast, at work, at sunset, you'll realize enlightenment didn't happen 2,500 years ago. It's happening now, through you. Thank you for being part of this journey. Until next time, stay awake, stay kind, and never forget, you are the light you've been looking for.